Do you want to start a business in Wayne County? Do you know we have a small business center and they can come help you develop a business plan free of cost? Do you have a company that you want a military contract with, a federal contract? Well, we have a military business center and an individual on that campus that help you acquire that contract to better your business and get income for your business. So there's just a variety of different things.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Wayne County Chambers podcast, For the Record. We want to say a special thank you to our sponsors. Our title sponsor, Sport Durst of Goldsboro, our premier sponsor, Atlantic Casualty Insurance Company, our presenting sponsors, Professional Data Management, Goldsboro Builder Supply, and UNC Physicians Network, and our community sponsors, Butterball and the Housing Authority of the City of Goldsboro. And for the record, we're glad you're here.
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm well.
Man, it is always good to see you. We get to see each other a lot.
That we do.
Yeah, I mean, we're always usually crossing paths somewhere in the community. I don't know what that says about me or you, but
we're busy.
but I feel fortunate that we get to see each other. So tell us who you are. Tell folks who you are and a little bit about you.
So I am officially known as Dr. Patricia Pfeiffer. I go by Patty. I always say that's the nickname my mom gave me, but I happen to be the president of Wayne Community College. I have the distinct honor and pleasure of being the president of Wayne Community College. And
the number 4 recently
in the nation
listed, the number 4 ranked community college in the nation.
By Smart Asset, yes.
Wow.
We were.
Okay.
We were. And that's based on our graduation rate, our instructor-to-student ratio, as well as the cost. There are a lot of community colleges from North Carolina on that list. But, yeah, we're 4th in the nation. And people need to know there's over 1,000 community colleges in our nation. So, honored to be there. I think it speaks well for what we do and what our mission is.
That's right. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay. So, community college president, Wayne Community College. All right. Tell us more about you. Where you come from? Where did you start out? Tell us about your family.
So, I'm from a town called Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Do you know anything about Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania,
I don't.
Scott?
I like the way it sounds, though.
You ever heard of Groundhog's Day?
I have.
So that is Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania.
Shut your mouth.
Now, I'm from the town where Gobbler's Knob is, and the groundhog predicts the weather every February 2nd.
Oh, wow.
I always lovingly say, that should be a national holiday in my book. But I am from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. I was actually born in Jamestown, New York, but it's only because my parents live very close to the border. I come from a family of 3. As a matter of fact, let me just take point of privilege and wish my brother a happy birthday because today's his birthday.
Wow, cool.
He's one of those 0 birthdays today.
Okay.
And I have a sister who's also born later in the month, but today's his actual birthday.
Very cool.
So I'm one of 3. I'm the oldest of 3. My mother divorced when we were very young. I was 3 at that point, and my sister was like 3 months, so she was very young. And unfortunately, she suffered a lot of mental illness, major depression, schizophrenia, those types of things. So she was never really able to work outside the home as long as I was growing up. And she moved in with some of her siblings at that point, which essentially, helped raise us as children. So I grew up relatively poor, money-wise, but a lot of love. And my family was on assistance throughout my childhood. I can remember, we waited on the Salvation Army to bring us presents on Christmas Eve. And I can remember going with my mother to Salvation Army to pick up cheese and milk and, those kind of staples for the home. But, you learn to kind of overcome that over time. I was a relatively smart student. I went to Indiana University, Pennsylvania, right out of high school. I was a pre-med major. But I will tell my students now, I ended up being a college dropout. So one semester, very poor GPA, but I went to a great big university out of a relatively large high school, back then, in the early 80s, 350 plus graduating class. and I just got lost. I don't even know today if I had an advisor, and so I came out of there with a relatively poor GPA. Worked in a restaurant for a little while, but the one class that I did get an A in was military history. I was in ROTC, ROTC at that point, and it was an airborne unit. So obviously I couldn't jump as a freshman, but we could go out and watch the juniors and seniors that were already airborne qualified. And so once I left college in January, I went to recruiter and said, I don't know what I'm going to do in my life, but I want to join the Army, and I don't care what I do, but I want to jump out of airplanes. Now, please remember, I'm like 18 or 19 to be able to do that. So I ended up a parachute rigger in the U.S. Army, and as I kind of say, the rest is history. I met my husband when we were stationed in South Korea.
Hold on. Go back.
Okay.
I want to make sure you say the rest is history. Explain that a little bit more. You were a parachute what?
I was a parachute rigger.
Okay.
So I basically packed the parachutes that airborne troops use. My first duty station was at Fort Lewis, Washington, so I packed for the 2nd and 75th Ranger Battalion. And then I went to Daegu, Korea, where I met my husband. We packed there for a variety of different units in South Korea. But I met my husband in South Korea. We ended up getting married. We couldn't get stationed together. We tried to get him to transfer to Pope when it was a full functioning air base. He was going to Seymour. I was going someplace else. So I decided to go ahead and get out of active duty. I went into the reserves, spent the rest of my time at now called Fort Liberty in the reserve unit with the 824th Quartermaster. So I jumped out of perfectly good airplanes for those 6 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's wild. Tell me what that is like.
It is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. A little scary.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you. But you always had to be as a black hat, which is what we called our trainers in airborne school at Fort Benning, Georgia. You always had to have a little bit of fear, so if something went wrong, you knew what to do next. You always had a reserve chute, so you always kind of, okay, if this doesn't happen, then I need to go to the next thing. So, but I enjoy that, immensely. While I was in South Korea, I had the opportunity to go mountaineering school, so I got to be a certified Australian rappeller. And you'll say, well, what's the difference? Well, Australian rappellers, we run down the face of a mountain face first. We don't bounce. So I've done a 300-foot single rope Australian rappel off a cliff. But I was young. I was very adventuresome. I enjoyed adventure, and it was just fun.
You're kind of like James Bond.
I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
But I did enjoy doing things that were exciting.
That's pretty cool. No, that is so interesting. Jumping out of planes. I just can't imagine I could bring myself to do that unless it was on fire or something.
Sport Durst Volkswagen Mazda of Goldsboro is proud to support Wayne County Chamber of Commerce. Family owned and operated, Sport Durst knows the importance of keeping local money local and supporting the community. We put our customers first with the area's best pricing, best trade-in value, and best selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Come experience the Sport Durst difference, where customers and community come first.
Well, I did have an opportunity a few years ago with the Golden Knights to do a tandem with them.
Okay.
Which was wonderful because, when I was in the Army, the Golden Knights were it.
Right.
I mean, it was who we looked up to. And when I got that opportunity because one of my board members won an award, and she was in her 70s and she wasn't doing it. And they thought about me, and of course I said yes. And so I got to do that with the Golden Knights. And the person that I jumped with, I was able to wear my airborne wings. So I took a set of my airborne wings that I had when I was in my 20s,
Right.
and pinned them on also again when I did that jump with them.
Man,
So there's a
that's
video.
awesome.
There really
There's
is.
proof. There's actual
There's
proof. It's on factual files.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you jumped out of planes. You were in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
You met your husband. You guys have kids?
We do. We have 2 daughters. We have Holly, who's our oldest. She's married to Kevin, and she has 3 children. They have 3 children, and a 12-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old grandson for us, and just over 1-year-old, Olivia Kate. We call her Libby.
Mm-hmm.
So we also have another daughter. Her name's April. She's a school teacher in Johnston County, and our oldest lives in Johnston County because her husband was a Johnston County young man.
Very cool. So what did you do after military?
So when I joined the reserves, well, first and foremost, after we got married and my husband got stationed back here at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, and I ended up joining reserves to finish out my time, I needed to do something. I knew I wanted to go to college, and Wayne Community College was there for me. So I went back to Wayne Community College. I applied for the nursing program. The first year I was an alternate, and the second year I applied, I got in, I finished, and I graduated in the 80s as a registered nurse from Wayne Community College. And then I went out and worked as a labor delivery nurse for a number of years. I love labor delivery.
Wow. Huh. How long did you do that? You
So
remember?
I did full-time for almost 7 years before I took my instructor position at Wayne Community College.
Okay.
I took that instructor position in November of '94, so it's almost been 30 years that I've been at the college this year. And there's where you can say, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And here I am.
That is kind of amazing that you were a student as an adult and were able to make a career and then be a professor at same school. And now you've climbed up those ranks. I mean, because you don't just go from professor to president. There's steps, right, to that
Correct.
process. So how did that work? How does that work, or how did it work specifically maybe for you?
So for me, I was an instructor for probably close to 16 years. And we had a department chair that was retiring. So I applied, and I had the great fortune of becoming the nursing department chair. At that point, I had a master's in administration, but I knew if I was going to be a department chair, I needed a second master's. So I went back and got a master's in nursing education, because that was going to be a requirement of that position to have a master's in nursing. And from there, I became a dean. So I was a dean of our allied health and our public services programs on the campus. And then I had the fortune of moving into a vice president's role, the vice president institutional effectiveness and chief of staff. Eventually moved into vice president of academic and student services, and then into the presidency, and had the great fortune of applying for that position and being offered that position. Wow. And I took it as an interim in July of 21, and it became permanent in January of 22.
Yeah. And we're lucky for it.
Oh, thank you.
County is lucky for it. Community is lucky for it. You're doing a fantastic job. Really great job. So a lot of just cool adventures, really great performance, high achieving. I think that's fair to say. You don't get to where you are and have done all these things that you just said. Achievement's been just a part of your character and a part of your nature. And you've done that as a wife and as a mother.
I have.
Talk about that a little bit. How does that, because, from what I observe and what I hear, I mean, I do think it's harder for women still to this day. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be, and maybe we should always ask the men the exact same questions. But the truth is, in the practical world, especially for the last 30 years that you've climbed the career that you've climbed and had the achievements you've had, I do think it's different for women. Have you found that to be the case? And if so, what does it look like for you? I mean, how did you navigate all that?
I think it's a fine balance. I have a significant spouse who has always pushed me. When I would come home from my associate degree nursing program and with a 50-page syllabus, I'm like, I can't do this. And he was like, yes, you can. And then when I go back and get a bachelor's degree and, this is hard, yes, you can. So I always had a supportive spouse. Tim has always been there when I couldn't be for our daughters, but it does come with sacrifice. And, there has been sacrifice along the way. I had a daughter one time, I think she was a sophomore in high school, and she had to write an essay, and we got to hear that essay. And I think she said something to this nature. I've always known my mom with a book in her hand because, I did not get my first college degree. My daughter was our first daughter was 9 months old. So, and then I got 4 more degrees after that. So my children have always known that education was important, but their mom was always studying for something along the way. But I think that has helped them be the women that they are today. And, it's just a hard balance. Along the way, there are a few things that I have missed. But you have to prioritize, at that time. And hopefully you've made the best choice for you, for your family, for your work situation, et cetera. When I was a nursing faculty member, you didn't miss clinical. You couldn't miss clinical. I can remember the call I got. We were living in Raleigh when I first took the job. My first clinical assignment was in Kinston. So I would have to drive in the morning to get to then LMH, Lenore Memorial Hospital, now UNC Lenore, but to be there at 6:30 in the morning. I spent the night at a family member's house in Goldsboro, so I didn't have to drive all the way back to Raleigh. So Tim would have to take care of the kids, and then I would go back the next morning. The next afternoon when I got done with clinical. It was just the sacrifice that we had to make to be able to get that done. And then my husband and I worked a lot of different shifts. For when I was working in nursing early on, I would work weekends, Saturday and Sunday, on what was called Baylor back then. He worked Monday through Friday. So I could be home for the kids Monday through Friday, and I would work every weekend except 2 weekends out of the year. That's the way the program worked. Or I would work, he would work day shift, or I work 3 to 11, so we'd have somebody to keep the kids for just a little period of time. So, we spent a lot of time with different shifts to be able to make it work.
Yeah. Well, and as it turns out, most people, when they look at key leaders or leaders in high-profile positions, I think sometimes they assume that you just got there. Turns out that there was a whole lot of days in between where you started and where you ended up.
But for me, it was logical choices that I made. I knew I had already had an associate degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's, but I knew if I wanted to go into nursing administration as department chair, I needed another master's. So I went back to school for that. I had a friend call me about our doctoral program, and at first I was like, nope, I'm not going with you. No. She finally convinced me to do that. If I hadn't gone and finished my doctorate, I'd not be sitting here in the position I am today. So, you make concerted choices to be able to move in the direction that you want to go. Did I think I was going to be a community college president early on? No. Right. But the opportunity presented itself, and I had such a love and passion for Wayne Community College. Yeah. I said, I'm at least going to give it a shot. Yeah. I'm going to give it a shot, and if it's meant to be, it will be, and then I will do the absolute best that I can to elevate the institution to the highest level it can be and make the largest impact we can on our students, their families, and our community.
Yeah, no, and I'm excited to talk about that. But I think when I'm thinking about this personal story, because I do think it's so interesting. It turns out, somebody told me one time, I guess it's just an old saying that good luck often looks a lot like hard work. The good things come to people who have worked hard to get where they are and have made sacrifices and made commitments that maybe perhaps other people weren't prepared to make. In other words, leadership is not a gift that is granted. It's an assumption of something that's been earned over time. Military, whether that's military or, athletics or, academia, whatever it may be. I mean, I think that what you're describing to me, I love that story because it's an earned path.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work. And a lot of commitments you had to make over time. So those roles, I mean, because those are kind of a lot of different things in a sense, but how did they kind of prepare you for where you're at right now? I mean, you look like you're in your prime. You look like you're just crushing it. But I'm guessing all those things before led to your success that you're having.
Oh, absolutely. I think it helps you understand a variety of different roles on campus. When I became the vice president for academic and student services, I had all the student services I wasn't as familiar with as I had in my previous roles. I also had workforce continuing education before we had a separate vice president for that. And so, and then when I became the vice president of institutional effectiveness, that was all the accreditation. Not shortly after I got into that role, we had to do a new strategic plan for the entire campus. So there was a lot of learning that happened through all the different roles, but you begin to see big picture, and how things impact other things on campus. When I was in nursing faculty, I was worried about getting my students to the finish line, making sure that, when they were in clinical, they knew what they were doing and they weren't causing any harm, and they were making appropriate decisions. But when you start moving into leadership roles, you have to start looking at much bigger pictures and know what the overall impact of the decisions that you are making have on a variety of different either departments, faculty, staff, or students when you're in those roles. So I feel it was very beneficial for me to be in those types of roles at the campus. And then, to be granted the honor and the privilege of leading this great institution is wonderful. But please know, it's not all about Patty Pfeiffer.
Right.
There's an amazing team
Sure.
That surrounds me, and we have amazing faculty and staff that do wonderful things for our students.
But I do think there's something to be learned. I mean, from the story you just told and what we kind of just said is that, and maybe you probably see this more than anybody because you deal with a younger generation of people. It seems like, maybe, I don't know that I want to say post-COVID, but it seems like, at least as a digital generation, folks who are trying to enter the workforce, they want a very fast success rate. They want to get wherever they're trying to go, and they want to get there quickly. In so many ways, when I hear you share what you just shared, I feel like if you had fast forwarded or skipped over any of those seasons, you might not be, even if you'd gotten the position, you might not be the quality of leader that you are, right? Is there something to be said for that? Seems like there's something to be said for experience and understanding I do this job well. It's really a whole biblical principle, right? If you can be faithful with a little, you can be faithful with a lot. But until you've been faithful with a little, you shouldn't expect to be able to deliver for a lot. How do you see that play out?
I agree that having a broad, almost 27 years of experience at different levels at the community college and having been a community college graduate really helps me in this leadership role. And I think we used to say it best when I was in the military, rank has its privileges. You spend time at a certain rank, and the more rank that you acquire, there's more privileges that come with that. But you have to work hard in the military to earn rank, and I think you need to work hard in your career to get to the desired career goal, whatever that is for an individual. So everybody has a different career goal.
Sure.
Did I think I was going to be a community college president? I already told you I didn't think I was going to be a community college president. But I had enough experience along the way. The Board of Trustees has faith in their decision to put me in that role. And then I need to work as hard as I can to make sure that I represent the college, our students, our faculty, and staff at the best and make the best decisions possible.
Yeah.
So I do think, sometimes you just need experience.
Yeah.
And that experience helps you greatly as you move up in different career paths.
And I guess it shows too, like a values-based leader, right? Values-based leadership, that whether you're working on this thing or you're working on that thing, the quality and the way that you handle each of those roles is likely to transfer, and someone who's trying to evaluate someone to be in a leadership role, they can say, well, there's a high likelihood that this person is going to be able to do this thing in this way because they've done these things in that way. Right. So there's like a track record, I guess, that's built. I just think that there's so much to appreciate about that. And I always try to tell, younger leaders and younger people that, hey, I know you want to get there, but do this.
Well, hard work always pays off.
It does.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed, has it?
It hasn't.
It really hasn't changed. That's so cool. So what is a day like in the life of you said it comes with privileges? Is it Mai Tais and margaritas?
No.
And what is a day in the life of a community college president or the Wayne Community College president?
A lot of my job is based around making decisions that are best for the institution, our faculty and staff. I do have an administrative council. I have president's cabinet that we utilize to bounce some of the ideas, bounce some of the things that we're thinking about doing. Daily life, honestly, I go in and I'm probably inundated with 200 plus emails on a daily basis. As I told you before I got in here today what my day's been like, and I haven't touched email, so that will be this evening to be able to do that. But it's just dealing with the day-to-day business. There's always issues that you need to deal with. Sometimes those issues are things that need to come across my desk. Sometimes they come across my desk and I say, Scott, this is on you. You need to deal with this one and kind of move forward. But it's also reaching out to the community, doing things like this, having a podcast so people know about all the great things we got going on at Wayne Community College. I serve on several boards in the community because we have connections with business and industry that we need to maintain, and we need to service our communities too. So I see my role as a lot of external also, and that's why we run sometimes the same avenues.
Yeah, because the truth is that it's sort of like what is it? You're like head of government and head of state, right? You serve both roles. Because at the end of the day, while other people can, of course, represent the college and do represent the college in different places in different ways, they're still not you, right? They're still not the president. And, there's a big difference in having someone in that role who is engaged in the community versus someone who is not. And so I know it's very demanding, but I think there's a huge reward and benefit that comes, I think, for you, for the college, but certainly for the community, that someone in your position is as engaged in the community as you are.
Well, I care very deeply for our community, and we have a lot to offer the community.
That's right.
The citizens of our community, as well as the business and industries that, that we partner with or that may be coming new to Wayne County. So there's a lot that we can offer, and a lot of people that we need to be connected with to be able to make sure that we do make those connections when somebody doesn't know what we can offer at Wayne Community College.
So I want to dig into that, and I know that you want to dig into that. I tell people this all of the time. I'm like, man, if there is one thing that is underestimated still to this day, is Wayne Community College. All of the different ways that you guys impact life here, it is really hard to capture.
It is.
So how do you, when you think about the impact the college is making, what are the things that come to mind?
When people think of college, the first thing they're going to think about is, what degree can they get? What diploma, certificate. So, you instantly almost think about the college level classes. People do not realize, though, we have short-term trainings that people can come out in about 16 weeks, sometimes maybe 8 weeks, and get life-sustaining wages. You want to be a truck driver. We do from 8 to 16 weeks training to be a truck driver. That is on what we now call our short-term training. So workforce continuing education. You want to go into nursing, but you're not quite ready to go nursing. Well, you can come be a certified nursing assistant in 16 weeks, work in a hospital setting and kind of see what it's like. Hey, do I want to be at the bedside or do I not want to be at the bedside? I always hate it when a student entered one of our nursing programs, which are limited admission programs. I mean, we only get so many students into that program, and 2 or 3 weeks in and say, oh, I don't think I want to do this. And I thought, gosh, it was somebody else could have had that slot. So there's a variety of things. Do you want to start a business in Wayne County? Do you know we have a small business center and they can come help you develop a business plan free of cost?
Yep. Confidentially.
Right. So that, you can work through what you need to have an efficient business plan to be able to start something. Do you have a company that you want a military contract with? Right. A federal contract. Well, we have a military business center and an individual on that campus that help you acquire potentially that contract to better your business and get income for your business. So there's just a variety of different things.
You partner with employers to help deliver skills and certifications so they have employees. Literally,
we have apprenticeships.
They work with you all
Yes.
to directly. So if a company's coming from out of town, let's just say, one of the conversations they're likely to be having is going to be about you and then probably with you. In other words, how are we going to get skilled employees? And you're going to be the one that's most likely the one answering that question, right?
We have customized training. So a lot of businesses and industries, when they're new to the area and come in, there's an allotment for customized training for their employees. Well, we have an individual on that campus that focuses just on customized training. But if you're an established business and industry and you need some training, you can also contact him and he can arrange some of that training for your business and industry. The apprenticeships that we have a foundation who provides arts and humanities series for the community, 100% free to the community. We actually have the Tar Heel Traveler coming to speak. I'm excited about that one coming as part of the series this fall. So there's just a variety of things that we can offer. You have a high school kid that wants to take classes? Well, we have Career and College Promise to be able for high school kids to take classes during their junior and senior and earn college credit. That a lot of times is dual credit, meaning they get high school credit and college credit for the classes that they are taking. We also do a lot of community outreach. Like we have Trunk or Treat coming up in October. I think it's October 29th. We had over 5,000 people on campus last year for Trunk or Treat.
That's wild.
Big event. Yeah. We're repeating that again because we want people to know what's behind our doors and what we can offer them. We have allied health courses. You think of the dental courses and the nursing courses, but did you know you can come and go to mechanical engineering, go to mechatronics, you can be a welder, you can work in machining. Did you know we have a cybersecurity program, a nationally accredited cybersecurity program right there at Wayne Community College?
And all of these jobs, and this is no offense to, larger, longer degrees, because those are still wonderful things, right? You're a product of that. I'm a product of that. But there are really good wages on the other side of a lot of these jobs. Like
Absolutely.
We're not talking about low wage jobs in most of these cases. Like these are needed jobs, needed skills that people can really get paid to deliver. Like cybersecurity, you can get paid good money.
2-year college degree in cybersecurity from a nationally accredited cybersecurity
Almost
program.
no debt.
Yeah.
We
have an artificial intelligence 2-year degree. And, we also partner with a couple other colleges who don't have an artificial intelligence instructor. So Brunswick and Wilson will send students to us in their second year. Right. I don't have a funeral services program, but I partner with another institution, Fayetteville Technical Community College, because they have a funeral services program. And I always say, I don't really want a morgue on campus, but they have that.
Right.
So they can take their general education with us and then go and finish their last year with Fayetteville Tech and work in funeral services, which is not a dying profession for sure, as they say.
I see what you did.
Yes.
I see what you did there.
So there's a lot of things that we partner with others. Our hospital is asking for surgical technicians. Well, we don't have a surgical technology program right now, but we have signed one institutional service agreement with Lenore, which is going to allow us to send 3 students over for admission into their surgical tech program so that we can help train people. Because a lot of people, if they live in Wayne County, they end up staying in Wayne County.
Yeah.
So we really, we look at avenues to help our business and industry and where those needs are.
Well, and there's something that I always get excited when I hear you talk about, because I think it's just so interesting, the 2 + 2 + 2, right? Mm-hmm. So I tell the folks what that is and how a kid in public, let's assume public school right now, can take advantage of those pathways that you guys offer.
So we have a lot of articulation agreements, and that's basically an agreement between us and another college or university for somebody to be able to transfer and be able to finish what they want to finish. For example, like Campbell, you want to go be a physical therapist or working as a pharmacist. Well, we don't have that here, but they will allow our students to articulate and finish their junior, senior year so they can go on to a professional school. But the one you particularly mentioned, Scott, is a 2 + 2 + 2. That is an articulation between Wayne County Public Schools, Wayne Community College, and UMO. And it is very particularly for teachers. We know Wayne County has a need for teachers, trained teachers, and kind of has a shortage of teachers at times. So you can have a student who is very interested in becoming a teacher, and through Wayne County Public Schools and the Teacher Cadet Program, through their junior and senior year, can take teacher cadet type courses, learning, hey, do I really want to be a teacher? This is what it's like.
So they're going to school with you at that point, is that right?
Well, they would be taking some general education classes for us.
Okay.
But that is something they actually have at the high school.
Okay.
To say, hey, I think I want to be a teacher. And so they work through a curriculum that they have at Wayne County Public Schools. They could be dually enrolled with us for taking some general education classes, because at Wayne Community College, then we have an associate in arts or associate in science in teacher preparation. So those are the students that have finished high school and they want to come, but they know they're going to need a 4-year degree to be a licensed teacher in Wayne County. So they finish high school, they come to us, they do an AA or an AS in teacher preparation, associate in arts or associate in science, and then we have an agreement with the University of Mount Olive and Dr. Kroom that those students then can articulate to them and finish out the last 2 years, become licensed teachers. So they do it all where they're at or living in Wayne County.
Right.
If they're taking CCP classes in high school, Career and College Promise, or dually enrolled in Wayne Community College and high school, the parents aren't paying tuition for them. They're paying for some fees and some books, much reduced than a university.
Sure.
They come to us. If they have been a Career and College Promise high school student, have taken appropriate number of credits, have a great or appropriate GPA, they can get 4 semesters of Bison benefit. So that's a scholarship that will pay for tuition and fees.
So that's what the Bison benefit is.
Right.
Okay.
While they're at Wayne Community College.
How do people access the Bison benefit? What is that?
There's an application process through our foundation. Our foundation has probably gives out close to $450,000 to $500,000 in scholarships every year.
Wow.
Or they award that much, yes.
That's amazing.
So they can come to us with scholarship assistance while they're with us for up to 2 years, and then they can go to UMO, and UMO actually has a discount program on their tuition, and be able to go to UMO, finish the last 2 years, sit for the licensure, the appropriate licensure that they need for what they want to teach while they're in, when they become a teacher, whether that's high school, elementary, middle school, that type of stuff. So, that's 3 leaders sitting down and saying, how can we impact the need for teachers in Wayne County? So we sat down and formed that. But we have other articulation agreements, with NC State, with UNC Wilmington. We have the Pirate Promise with ECU. So it's just a variety of institutions that students can, articulate from one to the other pretty seamlessly.
Right. Well, and I guess I think about too, the cost. I mean, cost these days for anything is such an issue for families. And I just think it's so underappreciated, or maybe just not fully known, how affordable it is for the exchange of what you get.
Right.
In other words, the position that it puts you in as a young person compared to what you had to pay to get there seems to be, high value.
Well, there is, and there's lots of different studies that will tell you, what your income earning difference is based on the different degrees that you earn throughout your lifetime. So yes, there is a financial benefit to continuing your education with Wayne Community College. We never want finances to be a barrier for our students if they're students with us. So we look in any way possible. We probably have 2/3 of our students have some sort of financial assistance or scholarships that are helping pay for their education.
Yeah. Well, and I just think it's I think it's just one of the best things ever. I wish I could tell every single family, hey, if you live in Wayne County, at least, you should at least know about these pathways. And particularly because sometimes these kids, if they were going to be an apprentice, there are paths where they could almost finish high school in the 10th grade, be getting with you after the 10th grade, right?
Well, they can take career and college promise school. They can take
Right.
college level courses as juniors and seniors, yes.
As juniors and seniors. By the time they're 20, 21, they can come out, if they are in a participating path with these companies that are apprentice, that have apprenticeships, can be paid while they're getting, their education. And then they come out with a really great with certifications, like at a journeyman level, making really good wages.
Absolutely. And their tuition wavered.
Right.
So if they're a registered apprenticeship, the business and industry or others, they're not paying tuition. The student's not paying the tuition along the way.
Wild.
Yeah. And and in apprenticeships, there's progressive pay scales.
Right.
So if you start as a first-year apprentice in a registered apprenticeship, they have to have a pay scale. So you're almost guaranteed each year to earn a little bit more throughout that process. And we have great apprenticeships. We have somebody, Christy Saul, she's our executive director for apprenticeships. She'll work with any business and industry to be able to form an apprenticeship that is beneficial to the industry as well as the students that participate in it. And, as a matter of fact, we are the first K-12 apprenticeship for teacher preparation in the state.
Well, and I would think, if there's any employers out there listening to this, almost any kind of employer,
Absolutely.
it ought to be a consideration, because anything that can help pull those kids to you, in terms of pipeline, and to be connected to that process, be connected to you all and the talent that they could get. It just seems to me like a no-brainer. It may not work for every single employer, but if you're an employer, you ought to at least be inquiring about it, I think.
I had somebody that has a need for welders came to me. As a matter of fact, I ran into him, I think around Freedom Fest, and he came to me and I said, well, let's consider an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And I got him in contact with Ms. Saul. So, they can talk through the logistics. There's some work that a business and industry has to do to become a registered, have a registered apprenticeship. But, that's what we're there to do, to help you navigate what needs to be done as a business and industry, getting the standards written and those kind of things that need to be done to be registered.
That's great. So I want to talk about an issue I think that's important to both of us, and you guys play a role in this, but childcare. So, and it's becoming more and more complicated as we sit here, as time passes. But, according to the Partnership for Children in Wayne County, about half of our kids are connected that we know of to any pre-K path, which we think is a huge issue because, it's an existing workforce problem, because it makes the workforce for employers unstable because you don't have enough care for everybody, but it's a future workforce problem because the kids ain't ready for school. I guess talk to me about that issue. How do you see it? And how do you guys affect it? Because I know you do in a couple of different really important ways that are very direct. So just talk to me about that issue from your perspective.
I do think it's, quality childcare is hard. I mean, I had an employer, as a matter of fact, just called me today. They're struggling they have an employee that's struggling to find childcare for an infant. And, just asking for some advice and, what can we do from here? We are in the childcare training business. So we have an early childhood program. We've had that for a very, very long period of time. We actually have 3 tracks in that program. First track is called a career track. So that's the individual that comes into us and wants to work in a childcare type setting. That is a 2-year college degree that we offer in early childhood education. We also have a licensure and a non-licensure track. So your licensure track is somebody who wants to do birth to kindergarten. So your educators are in a K4 type program. And then the non-licensed, somebody's not interested in becoming a licensed teacher for birth through kindergarten. So we basically have 3 tracks that students can take. We do have a childcare center on campus. It is a 5-star childcare center, so it's very
with a waiting list.
With a waiting list, like every other probably childcare center in our community has a waiting list. We use it primarily as a lab setting for our students, so that they can go in and study child development and the different age groups that are in our childcare center. So we do birth up through those that will soon enter kindergarten. So 4-year-olds that will graduate into kindergarten is our last group that we take care of.
So you have the child care center that's at capacity. You have the programs to train. You just partnered with the Partnership for Children, as I understand it, for a child care academy.
We do. We actually did, I think, 2 with the Partnership for Children. Previously, they have a grant, and I think they're setting up, I don't know the exact number, but we provide the education, a lot of the education for that. And it is my understanding from that academy that it gets somebody that's interested in possibly working in childcare and doesn't have a degree, but there are certain things that need to be done prior to working with children. And so in about a week's period of time, they get SIDS training, CPR training, a variety of different things that they need to have to enter the workforce, even if they don't have a degree.
Right.
In the state of North Carolina, to be a lead teacher, they want you to have a 2-year degree.
Right.
So, but somebody that comes in and works with children doesn't necessarily have to have a degree, but there are certain credentials they have to have.
They still need some skills, some training. They need some skills,
and this academy gets them ready if they want to move into the career field relatively quickly. They check all the boxes a lot quicker during that period of time.
And I guess one of the challenges in that workforce right now that we're hearing is just the low wages. I mean, and it seems like such a tricky business situation because if you raise the wages on the workers, you raise the costs on the parents, on the consumers. And I don't know, it seems like it's an affordability and an availability from a parental needs side, and then it's a workforce challenge on the other side. It just seems like a problem that if we don't solve, we may be in real trouble, because how do the Patty Pfeiffers of the world get to become Patty Pfeiffer if they don't have options for their kids?
Right.
And then they don't have a choice.
Right.
They don't have an option to say, all right, I'm going to do this while you do this, or while you guys take care of my kids until I can get home, or whatever it might be. I mean, it just seems like it does limit opportunity. Like there's boundaries, there's constraints.
It is definitely a problem. It's definitely a problem. Business and industry, is going to suffer when people that are workforce age can't leave their home because they don't have anybody. The business that called me today, they have a critical position and they can't find childcare for an infant.
Right.
And it's going to be what happens to a lot of business and industry. People electing to stay home because it's what they need to do because they can't find somebody to care for the children outside the home. There's a lot of effort to help people become licensed family child care providers so they can care for in the home.
Right.
But the need is great, and it is not just Wayne County.
Right,
this
of course.
this is a nationwide crisis for sure.
That's true, but I also think if this is a liability that we all face, and it's certainly a liability we face. But if that liability was turned into an asset, if we were able to sort of work our way through this somehow, it would be a competitive advantage for the county because, you talk to the economic development people, they want to have these mega sites and they want to have these employers come in, but we can't even meet the demand that we have. And so I sort of think, if you want to become the place for young professionals to be able to succeed and want to raise a family, that would be a problem you'd want to solve. And if you solve that problem, it seems like your schools would likely improve.
Yeah, honestly, Scott, I wish I could tell you I had the answer.
I know. I
don't know. Any of us really have the answer. We know it's a problem.
Yeah.
The question is, what are we doing and how we are facing that problem,
Right.
and what are the solutions that we need to
Sure.
come up with to be able to face that. It most definitely is going to impact business and industry.
Yeah. In the future. Yeah, for sure. Well, and
Well, it's impacting it now.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at places that have 24/7 operational hours.
Right. That's right.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have a
there's
child care
not.
center in Wayne County that can do 24/7.
Not yet. Not yet. Yeah. And a Partnership for Children probably, of course, but I would say nobody's doing more on the issue than you guys are doing. It is such a, boy, if a magic wand could be waved and one problem could be solved, it seems like that one would be a good one to try to figure out because of the impact up and down.
I think we got to figure out the wage too, because
That's right.
they're taking care of our most valuable assets, our children.
That's right.
And are being paid some of the lower wages when it comes to workforce.
So Ms. Valerie Wallace said the other day, I think the average wage is like $13 an
that's what she
hour.
said.
At Sheetz right now, there's a sticker on their door that says to work as a cashier in Sheetz, it's $14 an hour. Why would you ever be a child care worker? And I'm like, no offense to Sheetz, but you're going to take care of our kids?
I think it's the passion that they have. The employees that we have had at our child care center, which is, are not the highest paid either.
Right.
It's the passion that they have
Yeah,
for
the care.
right. So, you look at people, people that are school teachers. It's not the most,
Lucrative,
financially
yeah, right.
lucrative, but they have a desire and a passion to have a difference or make a difference with children. So, money's not everything, but
That's
in
true.
childcare, we can do better.
Yeah. Well, thank you for going on that adventure with me on childcare. We care a lot about it. I know you care a lot about it. All right. So we did just see the ranking. You guys 4th in the nation. How did that happen? I mean, what has it meant to your team? I know it's been a big deal for you.
Well, it's very positive. We've had so many positive. Niche ranked us number 3 in the nation, and that's a college search engine. Essentially, Smart Asset is actually a financial company that looks at value. So that just speaks highly to what we're doing as an institution. We're military friendly. We're designated military friendly at the gold level. I always say, you think about the Olympics, gold, silver, bronze. We're at the gold level, and we're a military spouse friendly school too. So there's a lot of things that play into that. But you look at big picture. We've been recognized at the national level for a variety of different things. We've been a finalist with the American Association of Community Colleges for our partnership with Smithfield Foods and the apprenticeship model that we have with them. We did earn or win a Pinnacle Award with North Carolina Community College System for that very same partnership. We were one of 2 colleges who were recognized for apprenticeships in the state, and the value of apprenticeships that partnership has. You know, I just found out this last week, my basic law enforcement graduates, 100% pass rate. My licensed practical nurse graduates both graduated. One's graduating BLET, as a matter of fact, on Wednesday. Licensed practical nurse, they graduated in July, 100% pass rate on their national licensure board. I've got an Office of Communications that's up for 4 national awards for some of their publications. So we always strive for excellence, and it's just nice, you know, that people recognize the efforts that you put in to help your students be successful.
So what's next? What's the future of Wayne Community College? What's the 5-year outlook, the 10-year outlook?
Well, you know, we're in the midst of building a building. I don't know if you probably are very aware of that, but for those of you that don't know, we're building the Center for Industrial Technology and Engineering. It's called SITE. That building is going to house all of our applied tech programs with the exception of welding. You say, why not welding? Because we just renovated their space and gave them about 42% more space in their current space. So we hope SITE will be up. We'll have classes in January in SITE, state-of-the-art, applied technology, educational spaces. We will be building a truck driving pad that's also going to have basic law enforcement driving courses on it. And we will hopefully soon be awarding a contract for, if we haven't already, I think we've already awarded the contract for an agriculture building. So we're building an agriculture lab space for our students. We're going to be renovating spaces in the next couple of years for our public safety. So that's basic law enforcement, criminal justice, forensic science, as well as we're probably going to put in a 911 communication program because there's a large need, especially in the county, for 911 operators. We're expanding our nursing building to increase enrollment because the hospital has a great need for more nurses.
Deficit,
huge need for nurses.
I think it's a statewide deficit, actually.
Oh, it's really a nationwide need. So the only way we can do that is to add some space for bigger classrooms and those kinds of things. So we're going to add some space onto our nursing area. And, you know, since we, renovated space previously, I think that growth, as they say in that Field of Dreams, you build it and they will come. We've seen growth in our automotive program when we built the automotive building in 2020 and finished that one out. So, it's just a matter of knowing what the community needs, knowing what business and industry needs, and trying to move forward in a very positive way. So finish up the site, build the ag building, and lots of renovation projects.
And keep winning those awards.
Well, we'll keep winning all these awards. Yeah, we're going to try our best.
Well, I know a lot of people probably tell you this, but I think it's important for us to say it, and hopefully as folks, anybody that may be watching this will recognize as part of this conversation, but we owe a huge thank you to the great work of you and your team. I mean, it is... I just think it's one of the best things that is happening, not just in this county, but in this region. And the partnership, I mean, if there was one word that I would use to describe you all, that's what I would say. You look around, you're a partner over here, you're a partner over here, you're a partner over here. You're just impacting the community in all of these different places and in all of these different ways. And so if there's some folks out there that want to give some money, they ought to think about giving it to you. And I mean, I mean that sincerely, because the opportunities that exist as a result, not just for kids in school age, and not even just for adults who are trying to either start a career or reignite a career, it's for folks who are looking for second chances, and re-entering society. Maybe they are coming out of prison or coming out of, justice-affected situations. I mean, it is on and on and on the impact that you have. And I just think we are so fortunate to have you. There's been a lot of great leadership, but we are fortunate to have you as a leader and for the role that you play.
I appreciate that. I cannot take all the credit, though.
Of course.
Because of that team that surrounds me, that has great vision.
Yeah.
And we do care about the community. We care about the business and industries. We care about our citizens. And, you know, we're going to do everything in our power to meet the needs that the community has, meet the needs that business and industry has, and more importantly, meet the needs that our students have when they darken, you know, our doors. You know, I've said this a million times. If we can get them through the door, we can change their lives.
That's right.
And when you change, especially a first-generation students' lives, you're changing generations down the way. You
That's
know,
right.
My husband and I are first-generation students with 4-year college degrees. College didn't become an option then for our children. It was something that, you know, we expected them to go to college. But I think, you know, we are meeting students where they are, and we are taking them as far as they can go, which is somebody named Dallas Herring, and that's what he said many, many years ago. That's what the community college is for, meeting students where they are and taking them as far as they can go. And that's exactly what we do at Wayne Community College. We want every student to be as successful as possible. And even if they have to stop out for a reason, because things get in the way of our students' past. You know, life gets in the way, those kind of things. But we want to re-engage them and help them get back. We never want finances to be a barrier for our students. So we do everything in our power to help our students be as successful as possible and to meet the goal that they have in life, whatever that educational goal is, or meet the community member who wants to start a new business. You know, you're not taking college classes, but you are taking free classes at our small business center to learn how to write a business plan and counsel you on funding sources and things you need to do to start that small business. And I know we've partnered with Launch to be able to do some of that. The previous launches we had and moving forward, we'll partner with that. There's just so many great things going on at the community college that a lot of people just do not realize, you know, all of the great things. You mentioned second chances. You know, we have people that are represented on the reentry council to help. You know, a lot of times when somebody's coming out and needs a second chance, it's the basic needs that they have at first. But once you get beyond basic needs, you know, what are you going to do now? You know, what training can we get you to get you into a viable career path to be able to move forward, you know, post the incarceration that you had? You know, that's what we're there for. So just many, many things that people don't know about. But I invite anybody who wants to know what's happening at Wayne Community College, please contact me. I would love to show you around Wayne Community College, show you all the great learning spaces that we have, talk to you about all the great programs that we have at the college and what our impact in the community is. It's just vast. You know, just people just don't really realize that. You know, we started a few years ago some holiday courses. So students that are leaving the university for Christmas break but need to get a few more courses in, well, you know, in 5 weeks, you can take some courses over the holidays at Wayne Community College and transfer them back to the university. If you go to university and haven't completed a degree, students can agree to reverse transfer. So you take 2 or 3 classes that you needed to transfer back to us, and then we can send you your degree while you're up there finishing your 4-year degree. Wow. So there's just so many different things that we can do for students, and we can do for families too.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's an honor to be here. And, you know, the more I can talk about Wayne Community College, the better it is. The better the day is.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time.
You are more than welcome.